Aloha and welcome. In this lesson, I'm going to be going over the serial read and write for project 8.2. This is a redo of a previous video that didn't seem to work entirely properly. It seemed that when I was switching some screens, it wasn't showing up. So hopefully this time it'll work a little bit better. But anyway, this is a very simple and slightly complex topic, the serial read and write. If you go back and look at the end of the last one, there's a reference chart on using UARTs. And it just to go over a little bit of it, the commands that you have here for UART, you've got your ID, you've got your baud rate, which is your speed in terms of bits per second, the number of bits, your parity, your receive and your transmit, your stop and your timeout. So you can go in here and it'll tell you what each one of these is for. Your baud rate, we're going to set, I think 9600 is our baud rate today. Then we're going to have our bits, the number of each character. The parity, it's going to be either even or odd. And then the RX and the TX, the receive and transmit, we're going to tell it what the pins are that we're going to be using. Then we're going to have the number of stop bits we're going to use and the timeout period. So these are some of the commands that you can use. We're only going to be using, I believe, one of them, which is the read. I think we use any as well, yeah. So we're going to use maybe two of these. So anyway, let's get into it. It's a very simple diagram for this week. All you're going to need is your usual suspects, and you're going to need two jumpers. And the way this is going to look is the following. We're going to set up our UART to go, it's going to transmit on 0. We're going to send it down to another UART, which is receiving on 9, and then it's going to be sending on 8 and going back in to 1. So let's take a look at the code. Also, you'll notice that these file names don't actually match with what's there. I believe the file name is UART 0 to UART 1 and not this. So I think that they did a lot of modification of their code and they left it in a bit of an unfinished state. So yeah, look for the code that looks most similar to this. And let's see, they have serial read and write 1 to 0. And the actual file name here is, and I hope this shows up properly, it's going to be UART 0 to 1. And they're calling it USART. And that, again, is another problem they have. This isn't a USART, this is a UART. This is not the synchronized. So I don't know why they have that, but it's messed up. So anyway, let's go ahead and get back to our example here, and I'll go through it and explain it a little bit. So what they're doing here is they're setting up USART, which it's not USART, it's UART, and they're going to be setting, they're telling us they're going to use UART 0. We've got 0 or 1. So we're setting up 0 with a speed of 9600 bits per second. We're going to send 8 bits. We're transmitting on pin 0, receiving on pin 1, and we have a timeout of 10 milliseconds, I believe that is. And then for UART 1, we're setting up, we have to have a matching baud rate here, and then the bits need to be the same. Then our transmit pins, it's going to be 8, and it's going to be receiving on 9. Okay, so that's the way we have it set up. And if you look at our pin structures back here, that's exactly what we've described. 0 is going to be shooting over to 9 for the receive, and 8 will be writing out to the 1, although we're only doing it in one direction here. So when we look at it, we're setting up an infinite loop here, and we're going to be reading, we're going to set up RX data to be bytes, and we're going to set up over here, we're going to input a string from the user on USART 1, and let's say that is, let's say we type in hello world. It's going to take that, it's going to convert it to a string, it's going to store it in input underscore CNT. Then we're going to use USART 1 over here, and we're going to transmit it. So we're going to transmit it on USART 1, which is going to go from pin 9, or no, it's going to go from pin 8, and it's going to send it over to pin, let's see, it's going to send it to pin 1. So it's going to shoot it from UART over here, 1 to 0. And after it writes it, it's going to sleep for 1/10 of a second. And there's a reason for that, and we can get into that a little bit later. And then after it does that, we're going to say while USART 0 over here, the first one, dot any, meaning does it have anything, is it receiving anything? While it's receiving something, we're going to go in here and we're going to read 1 bit. We're going to add that to the USART 0, which, hold on, I misspoke there. We're going to read 1 bit off of that, and we're going to store it in RX data. So we're going to be sending that. Actually, that read might be 1 byte, but what is going to happen is it's transmitting it bit by bit. So it's going to be sending it bit by bit, 8 bits at a time. Yeah, so it's going to receive that. Once it receives, I guess, 1 byte, it's going to take that and it's going to append it to RX data, which is a byte here. So it's going to, yeah, so it's going to read it byte by byte and then put it into here. And then after it's finished, it's going to print it out. And it's going to go back into its loop mode, and it's going to ask you to input another thing, and we're going to go through that all over again. So why do we have a sleep in here? That's a very good question. And we're going to take a look at what happens when we take that out. So let's go ahead and bring up our VS Code and take a look. And with VS Code, if we go ahead, I need to connect our device here. So let me connect it. So when I connect it, I can now, the Pico is connected. I can run this, and it says an exception occurred. Oh no, there, here we go. All right, so I'm going to type in hello world. If I can type at all, and it pushes back hello world. So let's go and look at the code up here. So in the code, if I was to, where is this? If I was to take out this line right here, if I was just to comment that out and then stop and run it again, and I type in hello world, I hit enter, nothing comes up. But now if I say, huh? You'll notice it caught hello world. So what we're doing with that pause there is we're giving it time to put it on the line. So we're going up here and we are in the, after we input it, we go and we write it out. So we're sleeping it just long enough to get it, time to put that together and put it onto the line. If we don't have that pause in there, it's going to put it out there, and we're going to essentially, if we don't pause here, we're going to get to this too quick, and it's going to read. It's going to say, "Hey, I don't see anything here," and then it's going to, print back. It's got nothing. Then it's going to go back up there. It's going to wait for you to put something in again. And once you input that, then it's going to have the stuff from before, and it'll output that. So that's why you get the hello world. So, after you put in the huh. So that's what's going on here. We have a slight break here to get down, to give it time to put everything onto the line. So they must have played around with this a bit to figure out what's the exact timing to get that out there. So this here is to give it time to prepare the data and put it on the line and to transmit it. So anyhow, you can play around with that and see if you can get it to get partial words and things like that. So if you go up here and say, let's say 0.001, let's see if we can, get some funky behavior out of it that way. So we do this and we say hello, hello world, and we only catch the H. But then if we type in pi, it gets the rest of it, but only gets the P. So yeah, you can get some strange behaviors out of it, but the people that wrote this must have done the math and figured out, okay, in order to get it to sleep the proper amount of time to get that onto the line, it's going to be about 1 millisecond, or 1/10 of a second. So that's why you see that here. But anyway, just understand that all we're doing here is we're transmitting from this thing they're calling USART1, the UART1, they're transmitting it to 0. All they're doing is they're taking everything, they're pulling in a string, they're taking that, it's going to break it down into bits. It's going to transmit 8 bits at a time. And it's going to be sending that over to, well, it sends it 1 bit at a time in serial, but it's going to be doing 8 in a unit. So it's sending it from our pin 8 over here to pin 1. So it's sending it pin 1, pin 1. On the other side, we're waiting for it over here. We're receiving it. Once we've got some stuff there, then we're going to take it and we're going to print it out. And then we're going to go back. We're going to ask them to send something else. We're going to keep on looping through that. So that's what we're doing here. So I hope you enjoy playing around with this. Mess around with your timing, see how you can screw it up in neat little ways. And that's it for the lesson. I'll see you in the next lesson. Aloha.